Welcome to Leap into Livestream for Small Business. You are in the right place if you are a small business or even an individual who is curious about the opportunities of live commerce. Basically, all commerce on camera. Often we hear it called live stream shopping. My name is Dawn Chubai and I am your host. So, first things first, if you can hit that subscribe button, I can continue to produce great content like this and bring you great guests like Shari Koffman, who is a expert in the world of beauty and health and wellness, particularly in the TV home shopping space, although you have probably seen her on shows such as The Good Stuff on CTV or The Morning Show nationally on Global. And she's here today to share some insight on brand partnerships and her experience in the world of live selling. You have brought products to, I'm not going to say just life, but to live. So I'm so happy to have you here on Leap into Livestream.
I'm thrilled to be here. This is we've been waiting to talk about this, right? For months now. So finally we get to do it. It's exciting.
16 years in electronic retailing, which is TV home shopping, but also working in that product promotion space on traditional broadcast. So I want to talk a little bit about what your process is when you bring products specifically to some of those national programs.
So it's interesting because I'm essentially producing my own show, my own 6 minutes I produce. I find the brands, I coordinate, I email back and forth. I'm literally reaching out to them first to see, are they interested in doing this? Then I'm telling them I want to do a paid partnership with them. And they're either, yes, terrific, or we might need to pass. So then you move on to the next person. Once you've set those up, and it's usually 4 to 5 brands, then it's all about getting the product to me because I've got to now film some B-roll that's going to play live during our live presentation. So that all has to come to me. I shoot the B-roll. Then I have to gather all of that, send that off to the producer, who will then make sure that it's in the correct order that it's going to run during the live presentation. All the products are either shipped to me or they're shipped to me and to the studio. And then I get to the studio, I set it all up, and away we go. That's basically it. And, whatever happens live from there happens live.
So the reason I asked you that question is because the way you produce your segments, and they could be anywhere between 4 and 6 minutes amongst 4 or 5 brands, so get that perspective in place, is very much like producing and hosting your own live stream event. And whether it is a product launch or a multi-brand show, it's that same process. Shari, you could probably call yourself an influencer as well, not only from home shopping, but from what you do on the daily, whether it's on television or even on your social media. How do you think the influencer marketing expectations have changed with respect to what brands want from people like you?
Oh God. Yeah, that's an interesting question, Dawn, because I've been sent from some brands that would like to send me a contract and they would like me to produce some some influential work for them, be it 30 seconds, 40 seconds sort of snippet. And the contracts are pages and pages and pages long. And the amount they're offering is not a lot of money. Some of them, not a lot of money. And so when you look at that and you say to yourself, is it worth it? Because when you read the fine print as well, it's not just you film it, you send it off to them. There are all kinds of stipulations involved. And then once you do send it back to them, if they're not happy with it, then you are on the line to make all the changes, whatever that might be. Now, then there's been other times when I'm just filming for my own page, filming a product that I really like. And the brand will pick it up and say, oh, we really love this. We would love to buy this from you. And those are always amazing because those are always unexpected. So those are fun. But yeah, I think the space is changing. I think you have to know your worth. And you have, you know, you have to sort of pick and choose what it is that you want to do, or who it is that you want to work with. What's going to be too difficult, what's going to be reasonable. I try to go with reasonable if I can.
Yeah, and I think it has to align with what you can bring to the table and how much effort you want to put into it. And that's why when I talk about live stream shipping, I always am reminded by, back when influencers started, and at one point it was enough to hold up a pen and go, not even say anything, and just go, like this pen, here's the link to buy. I think brands now are becoming more demanding, and as they should, for some of the prices that they're paying these larger influencers, there should be an expectation of performance in some way. But I think this is where I really like the idea of live stream, Sherry, because someone like you're able to bring your authentic self. You're able to work with your existing network of followers, the people that you influence, but also be able to bring brands that you love or work with along for that ride. And to me, that has to bring additional value.
And it's so much easier to talk about a brand or talk to a brand when it's something you actually use or you enjoy. So for me, my focus, even on the morning show, it is about all the stages of menopause because that's what I'm going through. So those are the brands that I like to work with, brands that cater to women in their, late 40s, mid 50s. I can relate to all of that because I've gone through a very hard transition. So I've tried all kinds of different things. And I think that whole element of the menopausal woman is becoming more prevalent. Now it's hugely prevalent on social media, but even in Canadian TV, our hosts are going through perimenopause now, or they're in menopause. So there's so much to talk about it. There really is. And it's interesting because when I do a show on the morning show, I will have so many questions from so many women because those are the women who are watching. That's who's watching morning television.
And that's also when you bring it down social or social selling or live commerce, when you are able to provide that discussion. So a natural organic discussion. And then, oh, by the way, here are some products that may help. Now, in the past, I remember working on breakfast television and we would just throw out information like that like it was nothing. But now you realize the true value of that. I mean, it is advertising, but with authenticity and with a connection to a trusted advocate. So now enter the opportunity for live selling. And that is whether it's an official live stream shopping show or something like what you're doing, Sherry. I think that every time you appear on the morning show or the good stuff, and yes, even TSC where the sell is more obvious, anytime you're connecting a product to many through a screen, that's social selling. Because if we don't think people are Googling where to
Yeah.
get
Oh,
that
yeah.
supplement,
Oh,
that fan, those
yeah.
cooling sheets, see, of course, we're talking about selling.
Yes. Oh, 100%. And it's always been about selling, yet it, especially like I learned at the shopping channel, it's about selling, but it's not about selling. It's about the connection you have with the host, the connection you have with the viewer. It's about the stories that are being told. That is so meaningful. And oftentimes I'll get on air with an amazing host and they may not know anything about the brand, but they can relate in a way where they spark stories between the two of us. And other times I've been on and the host doesn't know anything about the brand and all they're doing is pushing the price, the auto delivery, and everything else is up to me. That's a harder live sell, much harder because I need that interaction. I really need it. I need it for some entertainment. I need it so that it's more of a conversation and doesn't feel like a sell.
And I think consumers, and I think they've always been like this, but the idea of a hard sell can be kind of key for
Yeah.
people. And so it's the idea of, hey, you're my friend. I
Mhm.
might not know you, but hey, I'm here to help you. Here's what's helped me. And this when we talk about, especially when I talk about my method of selling in my course and on this podcast, the importance of that authenticity when we talk about someone who may not have the same problem, but has a story that relates, well, now we're tapping into the different customer motivations. Now we're tapping into maybe they're not buying for themselves, but a loved one. Now, Shari, you talked about menopause, and I do want to talk about this space in the live selling scenario. I remember on Amazon Live, there's actually been a few different shows, and they always tie it around menopause awareness month or something like that. And they do it very much like a coffee talk where they have all the
Right.
different experts and they've got these products. And I thought, how genius, because there was a stigma, I'm sure, when you were younger about menopause. Me too. I'd love to be the gals now that are young who, when they go through menopause, it's going to be like, I mean, we never talked even about periods
No,
ever in
nothing.
the public. Hide your tampon. Do not let it fall out of your purse. I mean, my point is we are primed to have that open communication. And yes, the menopause market and products, I think there is a huge opportunity here.
Huge. It's huge. It is. I, I can't begin to tell you the amount of messages that I get from women. And um, yeah, the symptoms are huge. They're devastating. I've gone through a lot of it on my own. And one thing nobody ever really talks about, I actually talked about it on my a couple of posts, is the cost of going through menopause, the price, um, the out of pocket that you have to pay if you really want to find solutions, and a lot of women are silently suffering. And you go to your regular doctor today, and what do they say? Oh, well, everything's in normal range. You're fine, but you don't feel fine. And unless you have a doctor who says, I get it, no problem, I'm going to send you to someone who specializes in this, you really are at a loss. And that is really what is happening. I mean, everything from not sleeping to hair loss to depression, weight gain, women are experiencing it all. And when I come on and I do, I've said to them, let's do shows that literally target each symptom. Let's do that first. You're right. All these women, they're Googling those products. And then they're asking me my honest to goodness opinion about them. So I don't think this is going anywhere soon. I think that this is just going to grow even more so. And even on TSC, like I see the different products that they're offering, and when I started at TSC, Dawn, I started with Proactive. And I remember again at that
Right.
time,
Face.
it was for facial acne. And I was in my early 40s and I was having hormonal acne, and it couldn't have come at a better time. And I used that program for 8 years and it took me through perimenopause. It was the greatest thing ever, the greatest. But it came at the right time. I had a connection to it. I used it. I had the wonderful effects of it. So talking about it was easy, right?
I, I think, yeah, and that's the key. And let's face it, I mean, there are many products that as hosts we would sell that we would have never even used, right? But we were researchers
Right.
and we would be able to suggest who this is right for. And I think
Mhm.
that honesty also of, hey, this is not right for me because of X, X, X. But if you are the person who is experiencing this, so for instance, menopause, you have men watching the shows. Hey, listen, Joe, this may not be for you, but who do you have in your life that is suffering, perhaps in silence? Maybe you've noticed that they're sweating a lot. Maybe you notice that they're uncomfortable. When we look at something like what you do, which is present multiple products that are not even from the same company, but that tie into a theme, I think that from a smaller scale, every affiliate marketer could essentially, if they're willing to put the work in, because again, it's more than taking a picture with a pen in the influencer space. I think that there's an opportunity to produce their own content in this creator commerce economy and utilize live selling skills.
Right. And I think one of the biggest challenges when it comes to on-air selling is being able to pick out the important points for what it is you're going to talk about, because you don't have all of this time. The time is so short, and you have to really get to the point with each brand, each product. And I remember actually going to QVC when I went to QVC and HSN, whereas the shopping channel, I could be on for 50 minutes or 30 minutes. QVC was 7 minutes, and you had to get it all in 7 minutes. That was so challenging for me. I had to learn that. It didn't come quite naturally. And then it did, and I figured it out. But, so now when I tell you that I get brands who give me paragraphs and paragraphs on their, one item or two items, I have to be able to pick out the important parts.
Okay, so let's go there. You've got a paragraph, and I'm going to assume it's got stats and features and benefits and all ingredients and all. How do you choose what you believe, and this is obviously backed by experience, what is the most important?
Well, it all depends, like I just did a segment on menopausal hair loss. And two of the products, one of the brands was called Mulberry Hair Extensions. And we had two products. One was a topper and one was a halo hair extension, both for different purposes. But we only had 1 minute to talk. So I literally had to say what the topper was for, what the halo was for. They are both 100% ethically sourced human natural hair. You can style it the same way. You shampoo just as you would your regular hair. One's going to add volume. One's going to cover at the roots and give you volume up here. Like, I mean, something that the audience can relate to. How the hair is made and woven, I stayed away from all of that. That doesn't matter. When I've got a minute, I have to connect with the audience, and I have to think, what is the audience? What are they thinking about the brand that I'm presenting? What would they want to know about it?
And so when you say that to me, I immediately thought as well what you did, even in that explanation by saying here are two products. So first thing, problem solver, you have thinning or you are losing hair for whatever reason. But of course, we can use the term menopause, which might attract, right? Like a bit of a magnet. It's like someone's in the kitchen cooking and they hear menopause and they're like, "Ooh,
Yes.
run to
Yeah.
the TV," right? But what you did also is you took what could have been a confusing moment
Mhm.
and allowed there to be clarification so that people could put themselves in one camp, the topper, or the other camp, the halo. So by eliminating that confusion, there is more likelihood that a sale will be made because often when a consumer, and this is for TV home shopping, in-person shopping, right? For those that still do that, and definitely social selling and live selling, is if people are confused or if there's too much choice, they don't do anything. It's like deer in the headlights.
The technical stuff is not important. The clinical sometimes are not important. You have, you know, whoever's watching is having that same problem. They want a solution. Does it work? That's the bottom line. Is this going to work for me? Right? So it's sometimes you just have to push that other stuff aside, and it may not be, what the brand would want, but again, you only have 1 minute. You've got to figure this out. So you've got to, decide what's what. And the host might ask me a question that might take me in another direction. So it's, you just have to have, I remember at QVC, they used to say, have all that information in your back pocket, know as much as possible, and just be able to bring out the bits and pieces that you need.
And definitely with live stream shopping, where there is more of a, at times, a two-way conversation, even through a screen, because of course you are in real time, hopefully addressing concerns, that you can there reach into that library of
Mm.
information that you have done because you need to prepare. This isn't just about showing up and shilling product. You want to be able to address those concerns. And I know, Shari, you probably every time you finish a television broadcast, be it on TSC or when you were on City Line or the morning show or the good stuff, you would 100% be getting direct messages. And so your job as a live seller, as an influencer, does not end when that paycheck of what that given project you worked on is finished. You will continue because you are a trusted advocate to answer those questions even long after the show is finished.
Yes. Always asking those, answering and knowing like you're just not a face on TV, you're an actual person, you can relate to everything. So that's part of your influence. They're asking you a question. You want to get back to people in a short amount of time. You don't want it to be days or weeks later, and a lot of these people are wondering whether they should purchase. So and depends on your answer. So they're waiting for you and then they make their decision. So it's wonderful in so many ways. It's such a great way to connect. And yeah, I love it. I love it, Dawn. I don't even know if I could ever do anything else.
Well, and let's face it, there are constantly new ways to get compensated, whether it is a per job basis, a per show basis, a per post basis, or perhaps you're even getting commissions. Work a deal that works out best for you and the brand. And I like to say in these early stages of live stream shopping, as early adopters,
Mhm.
people in business like me, trainers, talent, businesses, look at it as a marathon.
Yes.
Get the first steps going, learn all the things that work for everybody, and then really nurture that relationship because ultimately it's the relationships that will be able to connect with customers, build that trust authentically, and ultimately put products in the hands of those who need it the most. Shari, so great talking with you. We look forward to seeing you on a television screen sometime soon. If anyone wants to reach out to you, can they follow you on social media? Where's the best space?
At Shari Koffman, anywhere they can, Instagram, TikTok, both of those platforms, they can find me, ask me questions, I will answer.
Shari, thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks, Dawn. Great to see you, honey.